Our intersectionality gives us the opportunity to evaluate ourselves and dive into our deepest truths. Identifying these truths leads us to the center of our intersections, calibrates us to our authenticity, builds our confidence needed to bring our full selves into every space, and teaches others how to engage with us. And when we exist at the center of these intersections, we feel better about ourselves. We are able to show diversity amongst our communities, and we are able to create space for the generations after us so that they can live in their authenticity and not what is trendy or deemed acceptable. Life made this clear for me when my partner Jamel and I traveled to Detroit, Michigan to visit his family. We flew there and then we rented a car. And while Jamel did most of the driving, I decided to give him a little break as we went to go see his auntie and cousins. As we were pulling off the interstate, we pulled up to an intersection that was different than most. Noticing the perplexed look on my face, Jamel said, "Welcome to your first encounter with the Michigan left." Now, if y'all are as lost as I was, a Michigan left is where you don't make the immediate left turn because it's going to send you into oncoming traffic. You have to cross that first street and then make your left turn. And I'm going to tell y'all now, it was stressing me out. The GPS was no help. And our 6-month-old child was in the back seat, so I wanted to ensure our safety. As frustrated as I was, the more I kept on driving, the more comfortable I got with the Michigan left. And by the time we were preparing to leave, it became second nature. Now, my challenge with navigating this complex road structure reminded me of the struggle that many people had understanding the plight of black women during segregation. Bit of a stretch, but hear me out. Kimberly Crenshaw, an esteemed civil rights scholar, coined the term intersectionality. She researched a court ruling that highlighted the layered oppression of sexism and racism that black women faced during segregation, that they experienced during segregation. My experience with the Michigan left showed me that it is important that we think about the way that we engage with each other. I would go as far as to take this theoretical analogy literally, to say that each of us are walking intersections with lanes constructed by the identities that we carry and the communities that we are a part of. Ironically, my intersection is significantly more complex than the Michigan left. However, I was so quick to be frustrated simply because it was something new. And the reality is, this can happen to any of us in the real world when we meet people with layered identities that are outside of societal norm. For instance, people that are black and queer, plus size and feminine, sex workers and Christian, transgender and gay, or like myself, someone with multiple lanes in their intersection. I'm black, I'm queer, I'm gender non-conforming, and I use he, she, and they pronouns. And those are just my main streets. But for a long time, I did not have the proper signage, structure, or system to honor my truth and teach other people how to engage with me respectfully. As I got more comfortable in my skin, I was able to find the courage to stand at the center of my intersection and find the beauty in my authenticity. But it was a process. Today, I want to talk about some tools to intersectionality to help each of us identify the lanes within our intersection, establish a system that honors all of who we are, and build the confidence and authority to show up as our full self in spaces where we may be the minority, and also in spaces where we may be marginalized within marginalized communities. Now, the basis of my identity started by recognizing my race. I grew up loving my blackness, but didn't always fit in because of my queerness. And and was sometimes too feminine for gay spaces. I struggled with this. Thankfully, I was raised in a Christian military home with my dad, my mom, and my younger brother. And we were blessed with international experiences and exposure to a lot of different cultures that gave me the wide lens and opportunity to meet a lot of different people in the way that they choose to present themselves. Now, my first time owning my blackness was from being a part of a community theater production of The Nutcracker. Now, we were in Oklahoma, and I was a really shy kid who seemed to thrive on the stage, but I couldn't help but recognize that I was the only black person in the production. My parents equipped me with the mindset of being proud of my blackness and not letting anybody put limitations on me because of it. They also gave me some wise words from my future Morehouse brother, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It's not about the color of your skin, but the content of your character. So you be kind, give it your best, and baby, just go out there and have fun dancing. So, soon after, my gender expression and sexuality began to show their early signs. But I didn't have the words or phrases at the time to attribute to the feelings. But don't worry, y'all, I'm not going to leave y'all behind. I would like to give a little lesson on the difference between sexual orientation and gender expression. Now, dictionary.com defines sexual orientation as one's inherent attraction to a sexual partner of a certain gender or the absence of gender preference in a sexual relationship. A person can be asexual, bisexual, heterosexual, gay, pansexual, and beyond. Now, gender expression is the way a person externally performs or signifies their gender identity, especially through habits of dressing, grooming, behaving, speaking, etc. A person can be transgender, cisgender, gender nonconforming, non-binary, or fall anywhere along the gender spectrum. I believe that we should not be tied down to a sexual orientation just because of our gender expression. And nor should we shape our gender expression based on our sexuality. They both deserve their own lanes and the freedom to be expressed in a way that feels natural to us. In 2016, fresh out of college, I found myself at a crossroads. How do I honor these multiple aspects of myself? And will I still be accepted if I bring my full self into a space? Well, today, I am thriving in love with my amazing supportive partner as we are navigating the ebb and flows of this thing called gentle parenting, while I am learning to fully exist on my own terms, and fabulously, if I do say so myself. But honestly, finding my center has been a maze. I was devastated when life would add plot twists just before I felt like I was reaching my destination. I needed a maintenance check desperately, but I was ignoring all the signs until life forced me into a hard reset. I had to add 3 lights to the dashboard of my life, and I'd like to share them with you all today. Pace, path, and point of view. These 3 P's have helped me find the rhythm of my life, honor all of who I am, and live life intentionally. Our first P is pace, which is showing grace to ourselves as we embrace our identity organically and check in with our emotional and mental health. It is important that we find the flow in our freedom while also identifying our safe spaces. This keeps us grounded so that we don't get consumed in what other people think about us, nor so consumed in ourselves that we shut the ones that love us out. Morehouse College showed me the richness and depth of our blackness. Walking these streets, I was able to open my eyes to see the sub-communities within the black community. I saw how these sub-communities could work together and connect on our blackness. And I also saw how these sub-communities can work independently, creating silos and layers of suppression on diverse forms of gender and sexuality. Seeing the strain that this put on individuals who find themselves connecting to multiple groups was my introduction to oppression amongst the oppressed. I was wrapping my mind around my own blackness as I realized that every part of me deserves to be expressed openly and freely. And I didn't get there until I was able to attend the Atlanta Pride Parade. Here I saw people living their lives, okay, and embracing the joy of their sexuality. And this freed the little gay boy deep inside of me to live out loud and follow in the footsteps of Bayard Rustin, Audre Lorde, and so many other black queer leaders that came before me. And my pace picked up speed once I was introduced to drag shows. Here was a space where gender expression and sexuality were being celebrated at the same time. And though I was a little late to the party, I was able to see and embrace the fact that I can live and accept all of me. This pace unlocked the vision that I needed to be able to finally intersect my blackness, my queerness, and my gender expression. Our second P is path, which is less about where you're going, but about creating a space that is safe for yourself and smoother for the people that are following in your footsteps. It is important that we pave our path with honesty and intention so that the people that are coming behind us can have an easier time learning from us, so that they can see our transparency. Especially to my folks out here that are breaking barriers within marginalized groups. You may be the only outspoken one now, but trust and believe there is somebody else in that room that is going to be inspired by your openness. I myself was terrified to express my feminine spirit. That was until I realized that my femininity can be confident, and it is a unique part of who I am and how I was created. I am allowed to flow along the gender spectrum as freely as I please. Better yet, we are allowed to flow along the gender spectrum as freely as we please. And with that affirmation and a lot of anxiety, I wanted to ease myself into feminine fashion. So I needed a judgment-free open space with brands and labels that I knew would take my wardrobe over. The Goodwill. So I went shopping. I got some blouses, a couple sweaters because I love a good sweater, some pleather leggings, and I went home vibrating with joy. I played dress up in my room until Halloween 2018, when I bought a pair of pink pumps to complete my Olivia Pope Halloween costume. And I had never worn heels before in my life. Those shoes came the day of Halloween. And for those of us who wear heels, you know it takes time for your feet, legs, and body to adjust. Let me tell y'all, my legs were mush in 6 minutes. And my calves were burning with discomfort. But the minute I kicked off those shoes and I rested my feet, I was able to embrace the power that I felt from embodying this character and indirectly owning my inner fluidity. That moment made me realize that I had to go through some awkward and painful moments to truthfully embrace and own the path of my expression. And I had to do it absent the opinion of others. Now, our third P is point of view. which is simply presenting the best version of you in the present moment, recognizing that that can change from day to day. I'm gender nonconforming, but I am not in heels, makeup, and a cute blouse every day, y'all. I am constantly checking in with myself to find my center. Constantly. And it is important that we do that. We are the ones that get to decide the pronouns that align with our gender expression. We are the ones that get to choose the name that aligns with the spirit inside of us. We get to choose where our presence is present. And I believe that we thrive when we live and exist in places where we are celebrated and move on from the places where we are not. I have learned to take up space, especially when I am one of the few or the only representation of one of my identities. Because if we don't, people will drive right past our intersections as if we're not even there. And it is important that we center ourselves so that we can give the world the best point of view into our lives. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the fact that owning these lanes can get heavy. Neglecting this truth can take us off of our center, which is detrimental to our health and our safety. At a time when our existence is being debated and brought to government tables, it is easier for us to fall through the cracks of society, making us more susceptible to health challenges, isolation, and depression. I experienced this in my very own life, here on this campus, when somebody sat across the table from me and told me that your test came back HIV positive. Here I was thinking that because I was educated and had a good school, I didn't have to be informed about what was happening in the community around me. HIV took 3 crucial years of my life. No unpacking, no searching, no figuring out who I really was. I struggled with being me and didn't know how to add this new lane that was trying to form in my intersection until I plugged into community. And they were able to show me that HIV was not another lane that was coming into my life, but a crosswalk stretching across all of my lanes to keep other people and myself safe. Once I was able to finally heal from the shame of my diagnosis, I was able to see that HIV was just a small aspect of the many things that make me who I am. And for those of you who may be wondering why I look a little familiar, you may remember this. Hi, I'm Alphonso, and there's more to me than HIV. In a 1 pill a day HIV medication commercial. And before I could share such a personal aspect of my life with the world, I had to tend to the potholes that HIV had placed in my intersection to be able to get back to my center and stand before you here today. Now, finding my center has become even more necessary as my partner Jamel and I have brought in our firstborn, C. Cannon. Who Jamel was able to carry himself. Jamel is transgender, and I have witnessed Jamel navigate the intricacies of his intersection. And I have also seen him navigate people's ignorance, and I've watched him do it with grace. So to anyone who is struggling with the weight of other people's opinions, know that that is none of your business. You deserve to be respected in the way that you present. So, to my intersectional family who find themselves in rooms where you feel the weight of multiple layers of your identity. Know that we are supposed to be in these rooms. We are meant to show people the diversity of our culture, and we have to bring our full selves to do so. If you hear nothing else, hear this. Believe in yourself. Believe in your voice and share the story of your intersectionality. We were placed here for a reason. We have a very unique perspective and view of the world. This is your moment to own your intersection and be inclusive and understanding of others. Thank you.